I really love Thailand, the people, the food, the climate, everything. Really passionate about this country, so every time I'm really, really happy to be here. First of all, I think I should explain a bit what and where Estonia is. Estonia is a small country in Northern Europe, 1.3 million people, so quite small. It's quite high in the north, so it's south of Finland, east from Sweden, west from Russia, somewhere in the Baltic Sea, a very small country. We were part of the Soviet Union, so in 1991 when Soviet Union was dismantled, then we gained the opportunity to basically completely reinvent the country. Estonia at that point was a really poor country. We didn't have any resources, our economy was going down. But we made some critical decisions in the very early stages. We basically decided to go digital from the very ground up, from already 1993 to be exact. So this transformation has taken a long, long time. And if there is one point that you can take home from the experience of Estonia and building digital governments is that actually technology has got very little to do with it. This is mostly about cultural change. This is about reinventing the government. This is about rethinking how people could interact with the government, how can we automatize, how can we be more effective. Currently, Estonia has the most effective public sector per capita globally, and this is because of digitalization throughout 25 years. So the thing governments and politicians need to mostly understand that as this is not so much a technological but the cultural change, it needs time. You cannot change stuff really, really fast because changing the mindset of bureaucrats, for example, or the citizens and politicians or the whole ecosystem, this needs time to grow. And I think as people probably have understood, we've had smartphones for 10 years. The interactions between the society have changed radically. And I think governments should change as well. But so the story of Estonia basically starts in 1993. My father was also part of that government, and we gave unique identifier numbers to people. Basically, it's an ID number. Very simple, but this is the first cornerstone of a digital society. Because there can be a person with a similar name, but if the number is different, it's different. And very important part of this number is that this is a public number. This is like my digital name. I don't have to hide it. I can show it, I can write it. Nothing happens. The more fundamental changes came in the beginning of basically 2000s and in the end of 90s. So since 2014, Estonia has also been experimenting with something we call e-residency. E-residency is kind of a virtual residency, nothing similar to the usual residency. It's basically the idea that everybody globally can get an Estonian digital ID and a digital signature backed up by the Estonian government. But when you have this digital ID, then basically you can open a company in Estonia in 18 minutes, never having to go physically to any office or stand in line. You can declare your taxes like small and medium-sized companies. We are currently piloting a tax system called Taxes 3.0, which basically means that small and medium companies would never have to declare anything again because all of their taxes are declared automatically. This saves a lot of time, a lot of bureaucratic hassle, and so on. But with the e-residency, basically a citizen of Thailand can open a company in European Union in 18 minutes. So if you have this kind of work as a freelancer globally or want to do business within the European Union, then probably residency is the most easiest way of doing that. So, let's talk about the future as well. I've covered a little bit the basics. There is actually quite a lot more, but within 35 minutes it's relatively difficult to explain it all. I'm responsible for the future, so I'm working with different projects that how can we all pimp up this already pretty advanced government system to something that would withstand the constant changes and be adaptable enough to different radical stuff that we actually cannot see coming. So Estonia is aiming to build an invisible government. Invisible government means that if a citizen is entitled of getting something from the government, they get it automatically. An example of this would be that, for example, this spring, when a new Estonian is born, then both of the parents will receive an email or a WhatsApp message or whatever, how they want to communicate. Congratulations for the boy or the girl. From now on, you will get this much money to that account on that date. Don't worry about kindergarten. Everything has been taken care of. If you want to change anything, click here. And if you want to put a name to the child, please click here. The citizen does not need to fill anything. They just click OK. And we do that for everything, from birth till death. If you die, your next of kin gets a message, sorry for your loss, this is the funeral support. If you lose your job, sorry for that, this is your unemployment money. If you are in an accident and the doctor tells you that, oh, you are handicapped, sorry for that, this is your support for that. And for companies as well, like I mentioned, Taxes 3.0, you don't have to declare anything. The point here is that we see the role of government changing. Invisible government means that civil servants who are currently considered to be guardians or gatekeepers of certain information, they are protecting something valuable. That role should change. Civil servants are here to help and empower the people. The government should change more into a platform rather than a prison. We are hoping that lots of new stuff can help us, including artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, there is a lot of hype in this story, but as lots of experts already know, there has been a lot of change, and especially in a country like Estonia, where we actually have the data. We haven't used paper documents for 10 years, everything is digital, every transaction is somewhere. We can actually teach the algorithms to provide a much better service. I think with artificial intelligence we can automatize lots of decisions from the government side to be more data-driven, to be more adequate, and perhaps also less political. For example, I think some of the decision-making in governments is over-politicized unnecessarily. From today, we already actually have the data that we can utilize. We can use that for better decision-making. Also, in order to make this artificial intelligence work for the society, we actually really need to consider the legal frameworks. Estonia, like I mentioned, I'm an architect, city planner, not a lawyer. Then the fundamental innovations that come from Estonia actually are legal innovations. First one, the ID card or the digital identity must be mandatory for all people. This is very necessary to keep to create the ecosystem together with the private sector. Secondly, the X-Road or the data exchange, this must be mandatory for all government agencies. It's not an optional thing, it's mandatory. For artificial intelligence, we actually need to figure out what's the legal relationship between algorithms and humans. In a very simplistic way, it's about deciding who is guilty when a self-driving car hits the road, but it's also about when a drone falls from the sky or when a self-driving ship has an accident. Or even perhaps when a self-driving ship, a self-driving car, and a self-driving drone, three of them collide. We have to figure out those issues. So I'm responsible for working out the legal framework. The most aggressive version that we are currently debating in Estonia is about granting algorithms separate legal entity status. What does that mean? I presume also in Thailand you have a physical citizen, like me or you. Then you have a company, which is a legal entity. And we are thinking about the third one, which would be an algorithm. Or basically it would be similar to a company or something around that. This is very necessary in order to make the governments work more efficiently. What we are also thinking about is how can we build on the distributed architecture model and make it more sustainable. The problem with governmental ICT projects usually is that governments tend to do procurements. Procurement is a bureaucratic, ugly work for lots of paperwork. In Estonia, we want to make ICT procurements really small. Build the digital architecture in a way that it comprises of very small modules that you can interchange when necessary. The point here is that usually when a government does, for example, a new governmental healthcare system, it's a multi-million euro or dollar, or I don't know, it's in baht, it's probably like tens or hundreds of millions of baht you're put into one huge system. The problem with that is that when you are writing procurement rules, then perhaps in next 4 or 5 years the system will be ready. The technology evolves so fast that the system will be already old when it's launched. So you need to actually build the systems in a way that they also would withstand this constant change. But also it means that if any of those components that you make for a healthcare system or for a taxation system, that those would actually remain operational in times of change as well. All of this comes together in a cultural change. This is about actually trusting the people and trusting the government. This is about basically making hierarchies flatter and abolishing all sorts of micromanagement. It's about tactical planning. It's about giving the people the trust to be able to decide for themselves. Making this cultural change is really, really difficult. But I really believe that if you want to build a government for the future, you need to start. And starting actually is very easy. You need to have a plan. I'm sorry, I don't know the details of the local planning and the system, but it fundamentally comes down to digital ID, secure way of exchanging information, and the legal frameworks which back that up. And it's also important to incorporate user-centric thinking and design thinking, as mentioned before, in the government. This can be done by getting younger people involved. Because when I work, for example, then I talk to people who are older than me. People who are younger than me, they are digital natives. They get it by default. You don't have to explain. So I'm hoping that here in Thailand there is also attraction and need for making governments to work faster, more efficiently, cheaper. In Estonia, we chose digital government because it's the cheapest way to maintain a government. in a country of 1.23 million, with a taxpayers pool about 618,000 people, we don't have the money to maintain a government. Thus, we make stuff digital. Now, when the government is digital, we have more money to build new roads, build new hospitals, schools, and so on. This has helped us. I'm hoping that this will help you as well. And if anybody is interested, I'm here till Monday evening, so we can have a chat or meet or something. But thank you, and thank you for inviting me here.